everyone, but not goodbye yet. This is my return to Hello Goodbye from this single. And it was a fun listen, both songs actually. But today I'm returning to the Hello Goodbye song to do our exploratory, detailed listen and have some fun with it together. First, I want to play my first listen, which just happened. And unfortunately, for those of you on YouTube, can't play it there, but you can always find it on Ko-fi and Patreon. You say yes! So the official genre for this piece of music is pop rock. And I think that is completely an appropriate classification for it. It is kind of poppy rock. And, you know, I do kind of sympathize with Lennon about his feelings that his song was a bit more substantive, because it was. But this was a great pop-style rock piece to be the A-side for commercial reasons, certainly. And I think as we explore it, we're going to find out that even though it might feel a little bit lightweight on first listen, there's a bit more to it which is worthy of notice. Hello Goodbye was one of my songs, writes Paul in his book Many Years From Now. There are Geminian influences here, I think. The twins. It's such a deep theme in the universe. Duality. Man, woman, black, white, ebony, ivory, high, low, right, wrong, up, down, hello, goodbye. That it was a very easy song to write. It's just a song of duality, with me advocating the more positive. You say goodbye, I say hello. You say stop, I say go. I was advocating the more positive side of the duality, and I still do to this day. And yeah, it's easy to feel that in the piece. Kind of the popular term in more recent years is the whole yin-yang aspect of the universe. John corroborates that he was not involved in the composition at all. That's another McCartney, John stated in 1980. An attempt to write a single. Oh, burn. It wasn't a great piece. However, it appears that Paul worked with another collaborator of sorts on the song, Alastair Taylor, manager Brian Epstein's personal assistant, who was affectionately known as Mr. Fix-It, relates an event that occurred sometime around August of 1967. When Jane had gone, Paul used to phone me and say, "I'm fed up. Could you come up to Cavendish Avenue and we'll have a scotch and coke?" So this night, we were sitting and he said to me, "Have you ever thought about writing music?" I said, "Good grief, no." So he said, "It's dead easy. Anybody can write a song." So I said, "Oh, come on, Paul, don't be silly. If that were the case, everybody would be writing." He said, "Come on, we'll write a song." Sounds like a good therapeutic evening together, huh? In his dining room, he had this old hand-carved harmonium, a little organ that you pumped to get the air into it, with big pedals at the bottom. We used to have one of those when I was a kid out in the shop, and it was always dusty, covered in sawdust, but it was so much fun to go over there and start pumping away on those pedals. It was kind of leaky. You had to pump really hard to get any sound out. He lifted the lid of this and said, "Right, you get on that end and I'll get on this end." I was at the treble end, and he was at the bass end. And as we were pedaling like mad, they were pedaling like mad too, he said, "What I want you to do is hit any note at all. Don't worry about what ones. Just hit notes with both hands as you feel like it. I'll do the same this end, and I'm going to shout out a word, and I want you to shout out the opposite word. That's all. And then we'll write a song." So I said, "Yes, all right." Such a great, it's really the fundamentals of learning how to improvise. This idea actually is something I do with my students from time to time to help them get used to the idea that they can create music even if they really want to just do perfectly what's written on the page. But you can make your own music. And the first step is to just let go of expectations and allow yourself to be free. And so I'll set up a little pattern, something, and I'll say, "All right, these are your notes you can handle. Do whatever you want in whatever order, and find something you like that goes with this." And we start off like that. So this is very much along those lines, only now they're adding in words. We started this, and we got the rhythm going, just banging the keys. Then he shouted white, and I shouted black, and so it went on. Come, go. Hello, goodbye. We did a few more, and it lasted about 5 minutes. Then we packed up. He said, "There you go, we've got a song." George Gunby, in his book Hello Goodbye, The Story of Mr. Fix-It, adds this detail to their songwriting experiment. This went on for a little while before things got out of hand as they began throwing swear words into the pot. Oops. I don't think I'll be doing that with my students. Alistair laughed so hard he slid off the bench. Yeah, I'd say a fine therapeutic evening together. Alistair thought little of this event other than having an enjoyable time with a good friend, until a particular day sometime in November when Paul paid him a visit. As George Gunby relates, a few weeks later, Alistair was toiling away in his office when the door swung open and Paul walked in. "Hello," Alistair said. "And goodbye," Paul replied as he tossed a record onto the desk. "It's the new single." Alistair picked it up and read the label. It was titled, "Hello, Goodbye." "What's this, Paul?" he asked. He pointed at the writing credit of Lennon McCartney. "Surely it should read Taylor McCartney." I would say definitely, since Lennon didn't like it anyway, right? You say yes. Interesting. This doesn't start with any kind of introduction at all, right? We just jump straight in. You say yes. One of the things that I feel like as I return to listening to this piece now is that this opening melodic line, you say yes, I say no, you say stop, and I say go. Somehow I feel like, well, actually, it's interesting. I'm thinking back to some of the comments I've made about McCartney's melodic writing and some of the little formula he's used in the past, and along the way, kind of fingerprints. This is a funny combination, I would say, because when I look at this, when I look at it on paper, I start to imagine it with a little bit more momentum. You say yes, I say no, you say stop, and I say go, go, go. And somehow I get this feeling that it could be launching straight into a long, continuous melody straight from the start, which, as I've said in the past, McCartney likes to interrupt. He likes to do the ready, steady, go a little bit, and then finally taking on more, which, believe it or not, here we find again. And because of this time signature and the way he places these notes with that rest afterwards, we really feel, you say yes, and we have to wait. I say no, and we have to wait some more. You say stop, and I say go, go, go. And as we say go, 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 we start go, go, going. And it works pretty well. You say yes. And when he says, and I say go, 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 it's more than just the melody, go, go, going. It's also the moment at which the bass starts marching there. In there, ba 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 ba, and gets the motion going for us as well. And not to belabor the point too much, but there's something else fun happening here too. Harmonically, I guess I've talked about this from time to time. Not so much. I've talked a lot about how the 1 chord and the 5 chord are good, solid opponents, and the 5 drives us towards the 1. I'll give you a fresh example today, just to remind you of it. So we are in the key of C. There's a C chord. And if we set this up, I've just played a sequence of chords. And it feels like I arrived quite solidly at the end of that sequence. You knew when I was not going to play anymore, right? Because I played, here's a 5, and the 5 makes us want to go back to 1. It drives us home. And that's just a natural part of the way the chords work together within a key. So that sequence from 5 to 1 actually gets a name. It's called a perfect cadence, a way of kind of closing it up. There's nothing left open, so it's perfect. But now, what if I were to set us up for that expectation and then interrupt it. So instead of arriving at the end, we don't get to arrive at the end. Listen. We're not at the end. And it tells us, kind of invites us, we've got to keep on going and we have to continue. Well, that's exactly what is happening here. You say yes, I say no. In fact, let me erase my lines here so you can see, and we'll point them out together. So we're in the key of C. We start with an F. We'll talk about that a bit later. Here is our key chord. You say yes. Here is the 5 chord, the G. Even more powerfully, a G7. This makes it even better. So we have a C. Now we have a G7. We want to get home. Oh, we didn't go there. A quick flip the other way. So this is what we call not a perfect cadence, but an interrupted cadence. Simply because we interrupted the expectations of our ears. Sometimes it's called an imperfect cadence. So you can, whichever term you're used to. But I like the idea of interrupted. I like the definition of interrupted because it's such a great description of what's happening experientially as we're listening to it. And so why am I dwelling on these chords and the sequence of chords here? Well, it's because this interruption, this chord that makes us not end, it doesn't close the phrase, it makes us keep going, and it drives us forward into who knows what else, but something, because we certainly didn't arrive at the end, happens to be landing right on this phrase where it says, and I say go, 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 and we keep on go, go, go. And we end up actually back on the G7 there, and it's playing back and forth with this interruption. Now we're G7, A minor, G7, A minor, back and forth, back and forth. Interesting little kind of dallying about and playing with this whole moment of go, go, go. I say go, 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 but I'm just going to sit here and enjoy this go, 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 but we're not going yet. We're just enjoying the idea that we are going to go somewhere. A lot of fun musically. It's really quite clever, I would say. You say yes. Isn't that fun? And can't you feel how that chord choice there makes it so that we don't just close up and end just as soon as we say go, but we actually have to go somewhere. Going back and forth with this 5 chord, the G, the dominant, gives it a bit more strength than if we were just to stay the whole time on that A minor. But another thing which amuses me here, and I guess this showed up in another Beatles song at some point. Was it a Beatles song? I think it was a Beatles song. Maybe it was I don't remember. Anyway, doesn't matter. I know that there's another song that I listened to somewhere along the way in which I talked about Alberti bass, the Alberti pattern. And that is when you take a chord and you play bottom, top, middle, top, bottom, top, middle, top. Such a classic. Such a classic and classical sound, isn't it? You think of Mozart and Haydn and even Beethoven and this ya-da-da-da-da-da-da in, think piano sonatas, right? It's everywhere. Well, now, funnily enough, here's another example of it showing up in rock music, way down in the bass. And it's catchy down there. Bum, bim, bum, 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 bim, bum, 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 bim. Really adds a little bit of I would say playful, jaunty, fun. There are actually a lot of classical elements in here, not just that Alberti down there, But what else is coming up here? This scalar, dum bum 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 bum, right? And that also, you can easily think of dozens of classical era piano sonatas with the scales running up and down all over the place. Da 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 dee dee dee. This is just a simple outline of the C scale. So what do we have? We have Alberti. We have a C scale. We have these chords, which also the chord progressions, which are very classical. This interrupted cadence, very classical. And even the choice of voicing, the way that the melody is quite lightly set, meaning it's a single line. In fact, I'm going to throw out another classical music bit of terminology, Rococo. That is the era of musical composition that sits between Baroque and official classical. There's a sort of transition period there called Rococo, and it has certain features about it which are such a contrast to the complexity of the Baroque era that came before it. I guess we could even say the meatiness of it. It became a well, of course, it was a sort of reaction to how complex and elaborate the Baroque music had become. It has certain features. It's always very light sounding, airy sounding. It has simpler chord progressions, and it is more chordally based rather than contrapuntal lines everywhere and running all different directions. It's also quite ornate. It has lots of little frills and decorations. And then, of course, there's also this element of refinement, elegance, which we find a lot of these continuing into the classical, the solidly classical era. It's kind of the precursor to that, and the movement that direction out of the Baroque. But it's a funny little sandwiched spot. I've played music by Rococo composers, Johann Sebastian Bach's sons, Rococo composers, J.C. Bach, and CPE Bach, and different Bach family members, which were the next generation. They all went through this transition period, and it's a funny era to play, especially if you've been digging into some really heavy-duty Baroque stuff. Now, I'm dwelling on this a little bit, but I have a reason for saying so. This piece of music has a very Rococo-esque feel to it, in my opinion. Meaning, okay, there's this feeling of it has the potential to be really meaty and solid and substantive, but it's not. It has the potential to be poppy and just light pop, but there's more to it than that. It feels like a sort of funny transition. In fact, as I'm listening, I'm thinking, I could almost imagine this being transformed into an ABBA piece. I could. Even the way the melody flows, it could work fabulously, but they didn't. The Beatles didn't quite go that ABBA direction. So I'm going to call it Rococo rock. Maybe you'll get the idea. I think it fits, though. I think it's more than just commercial pop. I think that maybe Lennon was a bit too harsh. On the other hand, I do hear what he was talking about. And if he's going towards more of the meaty, substantive stuff, he's not going to be really thrilled with this. So, I said this all now because even the musical building blocks, like the Alberti bass and these scales and the chord progressions, they all send me this direction saying, let's call this Rococo rock. When I say go, go, go. And right about here, I start feeling like it's just not quite forceful like I expect it should be. Remember the idea of Rococo. Not forceful, not heavy, not super complex. Keeping it light. And going back to this chord progression business, I talked about the interruption element. Instead of going solidly into one, we interrupt and we kind of float off into something else. There's another feature, harmonic feature, which is kind of complementary and enhances that. And I also see being used here a lot. In fact, it showed up first at the very beginning. We have F chord to C chord. And if we look at the harp and start counting numbers, C, D, E, F, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have a 1 chord. But before the 1 chord, we have the F chord, which is the 4 chord. And I've talked about how the 4 gives a lighter, more buoyant, more elevated feel and a softer landing. If I'm coming home from this position to here, it's such a gentle arrival. It's like I just floated down and settled in on a helium balloon, rather than solidly, I have arrived. You hear the contrast. It's a big contrast. And what we have at the opening is this 4-to-1, first 2 chords that we hear. Well, as long as we're throwing out definitions, I'll go ahead and give you the definition for this sequence as well. It's called plagal. Plagal, and if we come and look down here where we were just listening, we again have the F chord. Okay, we travel through this, but where do we arrive? The C chord. And even here, I say hello, that's the F chord, arriving at the C chord. It's this plagal, this gentle arrival, a non-violent coming home. So smooth and gradual. And we have those two significant progressions showing up. The interruption, the go, 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 and then, of course, the gentle arriving home. Well, that means there's not a lot in here to give us, I just said, the aggressive quality, the solid, assertive element. Interesting, thinking about all of this in the context of what Paul said about dwelling on the positive, the nonviolent, the happy, the gentle, the sweet, all the positive sides of the duality that we find in so many areas of life, the world, the universe. It's as if that is kind of being reflected in the music too. But isn't it funny that when we go that direction, we suddenly lose the grittiness that comes with having antagonism and dissonance? And so it's a funny balance to strike. And I think that's another reason that this perhaps feels a bit weak if we're looking for something really solid, simply because he's avoiding conflict. He's avoiding the tug of war that comes even harmonically in music. It's not completely gone because, of course, I'm sure he recognizes we can't completely eliminate all that stuff and have a balanced world, a balanced existence. It's necessary, but he's certainly leaning far more towards the lighter, gentler, non-confrontational design of music. Just listen to it here, and I think you'll start picking it out. I say hello. And a little percussive ching ching right in between, and to me it fills up the gap a little bit the second time around, which is nice. I say hi, ching ching. You say hello, ching ching. Say hello. Now Now, this little scale we've been listening to along the way suddenly is showing up with the voices. Hello, goodbye, hello, goodbye. Notice again, it's moving upwards. Well, it wasn't, it was just a scale. It was just a musical building block. But now to set words to it. Hello, goodbye, as if we're taking, again, I come back to this idea of, balloons filled with helium. It's sort of floaty and lightweight, just easily moving upwards out of the grittiness and we could say the being rooted by gravity to what is down here. Instead, we just move up into the light, into the sunshine, up into the clouds. Hello, goodbye, hello, goodbye, hello, goodbye, hello, goodbye. As we sing, I say hello, hello, hello. I love the way also that he is continuing with his wonderful instinct for setting words to music, following the natural flow of language. When you say hello, hello, you say yes, I say no. You say hi, I say low. You say goodbye, I say hello. And you could practically quote, even musically, pitch-wise, and certainly rhythmically, any one of these little phrases in your speech language, and probably nobody would notice that it was coming from a song, that it was sung, because it feels so natural to the language. I say hello. I say hello. Hello, hello. Don't you sometimes do that? Walk into a room. Hello, hello. Anybody home? Hello, hello. That's exactly what we're hearing here. He has such an instinct and such an innate sense of how the language flows and the musical elements of the language that they're just tumbling out of him in this song. You say goodbye. Back to this idea of the nonviolent cadence, the plagal cadence, the 4/1. Even the lyrics that he sets there. I don't know why you say goodbye. I say hello. He's not saying assertively. He's not saying, you shouldn't say goodbye. Let's go to the positive and say hello. No. He just says very easily, I don't know why you say goodbye. I say hello. And the harmony progression is a mirror of that same approach. I don't know why you say goodbye. You're free to do as you please. I say hello. This is my choice. Again, it's avoidance of conflict. Lyrically, musically, so many different ways. Hello, hello. Still, I'm hearing all of these things that could come from classical. Listen to this line. If I'm playing it. So elegant, so graceful, and it just feels like it embodies the classical ideals of elegance and grace and form and balance and all of that. And that's just one little line in here. Then, of course, we have still showing up this and well, let's go back and see if we can pick out some other things too, because there's so many. Even when he does a sort of Beatley thing like goodbye, bye, 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 a little bit goofy, it somehow doesn't sound goofy. It just sounds more like, as I said, another example of, you say stop, I say go, 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 and it keeps going. Good. You say goodbye, bye, 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 and it's just a kind of extending of that line, and bye, 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 and you see the image fading into the distance as you're driving away. Do you say incredibly easy to sing along with it. Not only because it's such a scalar and simple design to the melody, which just flows so nicely. Arpeggios, scales, easy stuff that just lines up into a melody without any effort at all. I would call it effortless melodic writing in that regard. But also because lyrically, there's not a lot you have to remember. Even if I don't know this piece, I can kind of hello, 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 goodbye, bye, 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 bye. I can pick up a word and then know that he's going to repeat it several times over and fit right in. And I think that's one of the reasons that it makes such a catchy, popular sounding piece, is because it just kind of hands it to you on a silver platter and says, have fun, enjoy. Hello, hello. Even that, oh no, it's not stressed. It's not like, oh, this is terrible. It's, oh no. Everything is sung with a smile in this piece. Oh no. Notice how also these long periods of kind of avoidance and non-dissonance are just before they get to be too much. They're interrupted by something a little bit more rough and ready. For example, this little moment of Ringo's drums. Listen to the way that little insertion, change in texture, change in rhythm, helps everything. That little bit there, it's just a little bit more rugged, we could say. Maybe a few bumps in the road. It helps this to not become just incredibly boring, like a long car ride on the interstate where there's nothing to do, the road's straight ahead, I could fall asleep. So there's just little touches of things, and as I'm listening, I'm noticing how they're placed pretty consistently, a little here, a little there. Just as we get into something, it's interrupted by a little textural or rhythmic or instrumental variant for just a few beats, and then we go smoothly again. In some ways, it reminds me of, I don't know, a couple of dancers, you know, like even figure skating or ice dancers or something, where it's an art form, and where there's this constant sort of approach avoidance, coming together, moving away, coming together, moving away, and I start to feel, because this song goes on for quite a long while, and I start to feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm watching a dancing couple at a fairly high level of dance, you know, where it's an artistic expression, and it's this approach avoidance, come together, move away, and all the different ways of interacting within this. Where suddenly things get a little bit dark and gritty. Boom, boom, boom. Moving down, moving down, moving down, moving down. You hear it in the bass. You hear everything happening down there suddenly. Like, what happened? Ends with hello. Not bomb, 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 bomb. Boom, 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 boom. Sort of changing into something else. It's just hello. Hello. And this is such a surprise, because everything, well, look at this. Harmonically, we just got to something really meaty, a little bit gritty, some dissonance, some darkness happening here. We have G in the bass right here, which is helpful, although it's a C minor chord, not just a C, it's a C minor. And then some chromaticism, some F sharp, some F. It's almost like we're coming to a perfect cadence. No. Actually, it's just an elaborate approach to our plagal cadence. But still, it was meaty enough. It had enough grit to it that it had more of a perfect cadential feel, more of that solid, assertive, this is the end, I'm closing it. It's the first time in the song we've really felt that sort of assertion and focus in direction right here to arrive on our home chord, C. And it slowed down and everything stopped. And then something else comes in. After a long wait, what a surprise. It's interesting to me that this tail at the end is so unprepared, so surprising. Because all along he's been leading us through saying, we're not ending. It's going to be the interruption of the end. It's going to be a gentle arrival. It's going to be, we just continue on lightly, easily, moving here, moving there. Then suddenly we feel like finally he's, all right, let's wrap it up. Done. Hold on, not so fast. Hello. It's kind of celebratory, isn't it? Hello. What is it? Hello, something like that. It almost reminds me of something like aloha, a sort of Hawaiian version of hello, aloha, hela, aloha, something like that. Almost taking that direction, which makes me think, and also this cha cha cha, like. Well, I just got done saying that it was like a couple's dance. Now it sounds like more of a livelier hand clapping, everybody getting together in a circle, some ukulele or something, strumming away a little bit more, should we say floral? I can imagine some flowers hanging around the necks, and here it is again. And a little bit brassier too. Dee 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 dee, something going on down there. Dee 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 dee. It could be, well, we could say maybe he's thrown in this coda from, I don't know, maybe these are the beautiful people from what was the name of that one? All I can think of is beautiful people. Maybe You're a Rich Man, yeah. Or maybe it's a continuation of the party from All You Need Is Love, it puts that same sort of everybody parading around balloons and streamers and...
Or maybe these are the gentle people which are wearing flowers in their hair in San Francisco.
Maybe, because this is a very gentle song all the way through. You say black, I say white. You say bark, I say bite. You say rose, I say rice. You say Lord, I say Christ. It as I said in my first listen, I can't help but hear the link between Hello Goodbye and Queen's Bicycle Race. And maybe this was a song that Freddie loved. I don't know. Well, I bring that up again now because I've been talking about how this whole Rococo feel, this light, ornate, elegant, sweet, and of course this non-confrontational, non-violent, the yin and yang, the harmony in the universe, the approach, avoidance of a dancing couple, all of this, which this is what I hear in this piece of music. As I said at the beginning, by the time I get to the end, it starts to feel like it was a bit long for all of this. Like maybe a long dancing program. Actually, I think that this would make a fabulous piece of music to dance to, for one of those ice dancers or something. You could do something fun with it like that. But as I've been thinking, because after I did my first listen, I went and listened to I didn't have to go listen to it. I listened to it, but I listened to it with that in mind. Liesl makes me listen to it multiple times a day. Bicycle races. And I couldn't help but notice the contrast between the two. Queen's Bicycle Races, that is the most aggressive, high-powered section of the music. You say black, I say white. You say bark, I say bite. You say Rolls, I say Royce. You say Lord, I say Christ. And it's one after the other, and the drums and everything is super intense. Whereas here, what is it again? It's you say yes, I say no. You say stop, and I say go, go, go. And of course, I'm exaggerating the pause because I want you to take note of the pause and the space between the two, and how it just makes it breathe easily, and it's airy and light. And at the same time, there is a lot in common between the two. But my reason for bringing up this Queen is because I think one of the reasons that Lennon was dissatisfied with this song is perhaps because it wasn't edgy, playful enough for him. Neither was it, super forceful message like all you need is love, really driving that home. And neither was it something really more musically meaty, solid sounding. I don't know, but those are the things that I feel like, okay, if you did a little more of this, or a little more of this, or took it a little more this way, it would feel a bit more comfortable, a bit more familiar, a bit more, should I say ordinary? And isn't it funny to be saying it's not ordinary sounding enough? A bit more rocky or something. Or else it needs to go towards ABBA's style. You feel like it's in this funny mid-ground, which is exactly how I feel many times when I start working through a Rococo piece of music in the classical tradition. It's like, it's in this funny no man's land transition period where it's like they couldn't quite make up their minds to be this or this. And I feel like Freddie and Queen perhaps took this idea and said, all right, we are going to take it a certain direction a little more assertively. We're going to really dig into it and give it some teeth, some bark and some bite. But I hope that having gone through it like this, I hope that you can have, even if it's not your favorite piece, even if you feel it's too poppy, or maybe you love it, I don't know. But I hope you can appreciate the really great elements of it, which make it far more than just a, throw it out there commercial pop piece, which is really not worthy of much deep exploration. This has actually quite a bit to appreciate and explore and take to heart. So that was Hello Goodbye. Next time we'll be digging into I Am the Walrus, not I Am the Eggman. And I'll see you then.